You're all requested to keep yourselves on mute. Abu Bakr, can you please mute yourself?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. So today we're going to deal with the last block of this course, which talks about integrated marketing communications. Okay. I am trying to mute you, but okay. Yeah, so this block deals with four basic units, one of which is advertising, the other is on public relations and corporate communications. The third one talks about event management, and the last one talks about integrated marketing communications. Now, we all understand, since all of you are working in media in some capacity or the other, or in communications departments of various organizations, you'd all understand how important it is to communicate to the right public and to the stakeholders, which could be the media, the general public, the government, various other, the consumers, the potential customers, so on and so forth. So there's a huge list of both internal as well as external external publics who we deal with. So integrated marketing communications is that kind of communication which is used for marketing, and various kind of tools and techniques of marketing are integrated into it in a systematic manner with a certain strategy in place, so that the communications are able to meet their set objectives. So having said that, I'll take you through the first unit of this block, which deals with advertising. And while dealing with advertising, we will learn about what are the various practices and principles of advertising. How do we understand the advantages and objectives and limitations of advertising? How do we help facilitate the use of different media and techniques of advertising? And we would also talk about analyzing the various appeals that are used in advertising. Appeals would mean, how do we appeal to the target audience? So say, for example, you see an ad on TV which has more to do with the emotions of a mother and child. So that has an emotional appeal to it. So we are also going to discuss that. And we are also going to discuss the various advertising concepts and models, which just like we had the models of mass communication and models of communication alongside the theories, similarly, we have certain models that work best towards persuasion or advertising. And then there is planning and evaluating of advertising effectiveness. So all of it together will comprise this unit on advertising. So any kind of, when we talk about advertising, what exactly is it? Anybody who'd like to give an opinion on what they think is advertising? Any one of you? Looks like everybody just logs into the class. You put on video, you put yourself on mute and you switch on your video, and then you're out strolling in some garden. Doesn't look like you're really participating in the class.
We are here.
You are? Okay. Thanks, Simon. Tell me, what do you understand by advertising?
Okay, so I think advertising, I think in a layman's term, would be this would be selling a product that would be a product or an idea to a to an appropriate population for the purpose of getting those people to buy your idea or your product or something like that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
In business context, I think it would be like that. In business context, it would be like that.
Yes, in business context, it is like that. And like we are talking about integrated marketing communications, the basic idea is to promote your product or service. So a product could be anything that you do, anything that is tangible, and a service is something of use to you, but it is intangible. So in order to promote these products and services, it is necessary that you get into the gamut of advertising and you understand how to promote it best. So advertising is a way of promotion, just like public relations is another way of promotion, or arranging events is a way of promotion, all of it together. So dealing with advertising, basically it is any sort of promotion which is a paid form, and it is non-personal. So it is not targeted at any one person, say Simon or Sumi or Prince or anybody. It is targeted at everybody. So while we say that it is targeted at everyone, at a large public base that we take into consideration, it is also a paid form, because such a communication is not possible until you're paying a relevant media for it. So it is non-personal communication. It is meant for information about products or ideas, and it is done by an identified sponsor. So a company, say for example, P&G, Procter and Gamble, would like to advertise. They would obviously try to show who they are. They would want you to know that this advertisement, be it a public interest advertisement or any sort of advertisement, is being released by them. So this is what we understand by advertising. And the idea is to persuade or influence the behavior of the people so that the ultimate aim of buying the product is met. Right. So now production is incomplete without consumption. Now, this is something you would all agree with. And so as to ensure that consumption takes place at a proper rate, at a higher rate, it is important that advertising and public relations and all such forms of communication be used to market your product. So that's one thing. Then the gap between production and consumption. This is what advertising fills up, or advertising or PR or any other form of communication. Now, when we talk about when you run through your study material, you will also find something related to the evolution of advertisement in India, as in how did it come into the country. And that is more informative in nature. I'd like you to go through it. The next thing that we will be talking about is advertising, publicity, and propaganda, and how are these different or similar. So this, when you will see the study material, you will see that it has been put in a tabular form, and I discuss it with you so that you get some clarity on how these three are different. And in case there is something you would want to ask or you would want to pose a question on, you can do that. So when we talk about advertising, advertising is giving information about a company or product by non-personal means. As compared to this, when we talk about publicity, it is giving information by personal as well as non-personal means. But propaganda is majorly a political warfare kind of a thing. So people in, our leaders or politicians would like to make use of propaganda. And propaganda is not necessarily a negative term. Propaganda is just making people aware, talking about something. Then again, advertising is a commercial transaction, because obviously a lot of input in terms of money goes into advertising. So they expect that the sales charts should rise. Publicity may not be a very commercial transaction, may or may not be, but propaganda will obviously encourage the change of personal beliefs, because what does a politician want, or what does a political party want? They want you to vote for them. So it is more targeted towards change of personal beliefs and values about how they think, what the values of the political party are, right? Then obviously for advertising, like I just said, that the source of who is advertising, the P&G company or Tata or whatever, is always known. As compared to this, publicity can be of an information of something that's going to happen or something that has taken place. So not necessarily the source would be known. And as far as propaganda goes, obviously, because you're trying to change people's political beliefs or social beliefs, the source again is known. And advertising, when we come to the payment part of it, since advertisements are so well thought of, they are strategized in such a manner that they're always a paid form of advertising. But publicity and propaganda may or may not be paid. Also, all advertising is publicity, but the same cannot be said about publicity. All publicity may not be in terms of advertising only. It can also be in terms of news. It can also be in terms of advertorials. It can also be in terms of any other new kind of communication that you can think of. And also, all propaganda is also not advertising. So here we are able to come up with some broad differences between what advertising is and what publicity is, what propaganda is, which brings me back to the to what we began with, that this is more of a paid form of communication. Secondly, it is non-personal communication. Thirdly, the idea is to give out information about the product or service which you're going to sell. And the fourth thing is that the sponsor of this advertisement is always identified. We know who's releasing the advertisement. And the fifth thing is, why is all this being done? Because we want to persuade or influence the behavior of people and induce them to buy that product or service. So, having gone through the concept of advertising, let us also look at the objectives. Now, the major objectives, like when we talk about mass communication, we say that the major reasons why mass communication exists is because they meet these four purposes, which are to inform, to educate, to make aware, and to persuade. So also, when we talk about the objectives of advertising, there are three general objectives that advertising meets. The first one is to inform, the second one is to persuade, and the third one is to remind. Inform about what is this new product. Say, for example, some new series of Apple iPhone has been launched. So information about it, and which markets will it be released first? What is the kind of expected cost it will incur? All that is a part of information, which is also a part of advertising, right? So the idea is to create a buzz before the product is launched. The second objective is to persuade. And who do you persuade? You want to persuade the customers or potential customers to become your customers and to make a purchase decision in your benefit. And the third thing is to remind them. Often there is so much demand in the market. Also, there are so many competitions in the market that people usually end up forgetting about a certain company, about a certain product. So the idea that we too are there and you can, make your purchase decision favoring us. This has to be constantly nudged to the customer. So reminding is also an important general objective. So you keep reiterating the message so that what we call the top of mind recall is always there for people. And then we talk about the specific objectives. These specific objectives could be, say, for example, to induce a trial. So a new product is coming into the market. They would like people, usually what they do is they give some free samples to people to try, so that they get some initial feedback based on which they either make changes in the product or they, accordingly they play with the communication part. So that is one. Secondly, it can also be the specific purpose of any advertisement is also to intensify the usage of a product. So already it is doing well, but to ensure that it captures a greater share of the market, you want the usage to go up for the customers, and then you start targeting another customer segment. So say, for example, Cadbury chocolates. So Cadbury was something which was initially meant only for children, as it is, the way chocolates are. But then they started identifying themselves with important Indian festivals. So say, for example, Diwali. So they tried to replace the usual local sweetmeats by Cadbury chocolates. So this is how you try to intensify the usage of a certain product. Then thirdly, it would help in sustaining preference. The idea of not just buying once, but ensure that the purchase decision is repeated. So if you're using, say, Paragon footwear, you want to ensure that next time also the person comes for Paragon only and does not go to Bata, or does not go to Hush Puppies or some such thing. Then another important aspect or another important objective would be to confirm the image. When I say confirming the image, it basically there are established brands want to retain their image in the minds of the customer. Like say for example, coffee, Brew and Nescafe. These are two competitors, and we usually see that the Nescafe, the way it advertises for itself, the idea is to confirm that we are the better brand of coffee. So there is confirmation of image, which comes as a specific objective of advertising. Then, of course, they're also done to change habits. Okay, so say for example, switching over to green tea because it is healthy, because it has antioxidants, so on and so forth. So the idea is to ensure and force the customer to change the habit of drinking the usual traditional tea, which has a milk base to it because it produces acidity or for various other reasons, and to ensure that you go ahead with greater amount of green tea and replace it with the traditional tea. Okay, and one more specific objective of advertising could be to build line of acceptance. So there is the entire range of brands which is on display, and then you try to build an acceptance to it. So what happens is any company, any product, there are various verticals of a certain brand. So say for example, LG produces ACs, LG produces refrigerators, LG produces microwave ovens. So all these are three different verticals. Just imagine if it decides to get into the production of soaps or shampoos. So this is a new vertical this company is trying to come up with. As a part of advertising, you also try to build their acceptance to a new product, a new line of product, a new vertical that they're going to come up with. Now, having told you what advertising means and what are the objectives, there are also certain pros and cons which are related to it. Okay, there can be certain pros of advertising for the manufacturers, like say, for example, it will be helping in creating the primary demand for the brands, right? So for a manufacturer, say, for example, they make Tata Salt or they make Tata Trucks also. So it is easier when a certain buzz is created by advertising, and then it is only a matter of time that the product enters the market and how it gets picked. So the initial sales helps the manufacturer to get more confidence in producing it. Then another thing is that there will be increased demand, which will ensure steady sales, rise of sales, which is what any advertisement hopes for. And then if the brand is being advertised steadily over the years, it will usually generate consumer goodwill over a period of time. So like salt, when I say salt, in India, it is usually Tata Salt. So everybody knows what Tata Salt is. So it not only stays in your mind, it is also about building goodwill for the manufacturer company. So similarly, okay, these are a few of the pros or a few of the benefits of advertising for the manufacturer. When it comes to consumer, the first thing is that you get to know that this product is available. And then as a consumer, as many products are advertised, the consumers can compare, you can look at the minute details and you can compare everything. What are the ingredients? What does it give you? What does it not give you? What is it that you need, etc. And then it also increases competition amongst brands, which will help only the consumer. Why? Because when there is too much competition, the prices will go down. They will take better care of the quality of the product or service, so on and so forth. And then, of course, by eliminating the middlemen, the consumers will be able to enjoy the benefits of the reduced prices. Why? Because and how is advertising helping in this? Advertising is releasing of this communication that we are decreasing the price by, say, 5% or 10% of the original price. So it is available for you and you do not need any, you will not be fooled by a middleman, by a retailer who would try to sell you at the same price. So those are some of the benefits for consumers. Then also there are certain cons, certain disadvantages for the consumer. Like too many products on offer will confuse the consumer because they will overburden the consumer with information. And then advertisements also increase the price of the product. Whereas say for example, the same product is available at a local shop near your house. And the same product is available in a mall, which is maybe Asia's biggest mall or whatever. So why is it that there is a difference in price of the two? Because this person who is in the mall has to also charge the consumer for the rent of this shop, for the AC and the electricity that is being used, and for so many salespeople who he has employed. So everything, all kinds of costs have to be incurred. So that is the reason why, and advertising is one of these costs. So advertising can also add to the costs for the customer. Then most of the advertisements are also exaggerated. This is another con. A lot of time people fall into the traps of what's being said and what is not meant. So most of the advertisements end up being more exaggerated, and they are false or deceptive, or they may sometimes mislead. This, of course, as per the ethical standards. And like, say, for example, I remember an example. There used to be this fairness cream in India by the name Fair and Lovely. And they used to say that if you use it for 15 days, you can probably change the skin color from dark to light. This is what they would say. And in India, the perception of beauty traditionally also holds to being fairer. So the Supreme Court of India took notice of this, and they banned this particular company from releasing this kind of an ad, whereby, because it is basically meant to fool the customer. So this is one con for the consumer. And of course, there is also whether a particular ad is, respecting the cultural ethos of a place or not. So like, say, for example, a very general subject of discussion when it comes to advertising and media is the way women are getting portrayed. Or say, for example, the objectification of women in ads. So all of them are cons for the consumer. Why? Because they set a certain kind of perception which may not necessarily be true. But then, because everybody is watching an ad, I did not intend to watch this ad, but I was watching news. And while I was watching news, this ad popped in. Now, what kind of an effect does this kind of an ad have on someone, on say, for example, a child? Right? So there are various, so this is also a disadvantage to the customer. Then, having said this, there are also certain limitations of advertising, which is because advertising is rooftop shouting. When I will come to public relations, I'll discuss some of the things which makes it more meaningful, because it is investing in making good relationships, lifelong relationships with its customers or with its stakeholders, all the stakeholders, all its publics. But advertising majorly is rooftop shouting. And we all understand that if somebody says, wow, I'm good, you've no idea, but I'm very good. Now, this is something which will not be believed easily, as compared to someone else talking about this person and saying, look, this person is really good with whatever, with her skill, with her subject, with anything. So this becomes a limitation of advertising, because advertising is largely rooftop shouting. Also, though advertisement can compel a consumer, it can persuade a consumer, it cannot really compel you to buy. And of course, there are various other factors that come into the limelight. Like, it's not just the information that you're getting from an ad. It is also what your peer group does, what your family suggests, and various other factors that come into being. Then, of course, it is also a one-way communication only. One-way communication, as in, this is in a way not leaving any scope for consumers to give feedback on the way this communication has been received, or the way they perceive this communication, or whether they misunderstand it or they do not like it. There is no way how this kind of a feedback can reach the advertiser. And of course, it becomes less believable because it is
Hello,
shouting.
am I the only one,
Yes.
or it seems like Dr. Shika's audio has gone?
Or is that so?
No, we are able to hear.
Okay, Buhari, I guess you will have to check the internet connection at your end. Others are able to hear. Yes, somebody has raised their hand. Who's this? Okay. All right. So that is the limitation of advertising. Then, having said that, we move on to the next topic, which is about Buhari, can you still not listen? Can you hear me? Am I audible?
I'm able to hear you on my side.
Okay, great.
Also, we are
Great.
hearing you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. So then we discuss the media for advertising. Now, of course, we all are aware that it is more of social media which is being used for advertising, also because the cost incurred to the advertiser is less, and also because it is able to reach people one on one in a very brief period of time. But of course, but when we discuss about the various media which are involved in advertising, there isn't any media that we leave out. As in print media, so we have, like in print media, say for example, newspapers. There are two kinds of advertisements that appear in newspapers. One is the classified ads, and the other are display ads. Display ads are specifically those that have pictures in them, that have some illustrations or pictures in them. They are display ads, and they can also be product display ads. On the other hand, there are certain classified ads. So say for example, some building is available for rent, will be a classified ad where only information is placed in words and there are no visuals. So that is the kind of print media advertising. And magazine advertising also takes place on the same manner. So, and of course, the difference between newspaper and magazine advertisements is that a magazine obviously has greater shelf life. So even if you talk about a weekly magazine or a fortnightly or a monthly magazine, there is a greater shelf life that a magazine enjoys as compared to a newspaper, because the newspaper dies just the next day. So that is one. Then, of course, we also have TV ads. Most ads on TV are 30 to 45 seconds long, no more, because consumers do not pay too much attention to it, one. And two, there is limited exposure as well as time that you are engaging the consumers with. So it is widely available. It helps the advertisers to reach a large number of audiences, but the problem is, the threat is that you have very less time in which you should convince or persuade your audience to or attract their attention. Then, of course, we also have radio advertising. And the USP of radio is that this is a medium of the ear. Now, when we say a medium for the ear, obviously the kind of words that are used, the number of words that are used, simplicity of language, the kind of music that goes with it, all of it, by virtue of it being an audio medium, the messages need to be designed accordingly. And of course, because it is not audiovisual, it is less expensive than TV. And advertising duration here also is short, though usually advertisements on radio are more in form of jingles. So, because it is also a mass medium, you're not really segmenting the audiences properly. Okay, when I say segmentation of audience, what I mean is putting them into brackets, putting them into categories, like the elderlies and retired people, like children below 12 years of age, teens, or young earning people. So that is the kind of segmentation which is not happening in radio. Other than this, of course, we have online advertising and the new media, and we know how social media advertises. So be it YouTube, be it LinkedIn, everywhere, Facebook, all of them have various ways of advertising, right? But nevertheless, it doesn't miss the attention of the audience. That is for sure. Then we also have outdoor advertising, OOH, as we call it. OOH stands for out of home. So this medium works best when you're targeting consumers and not really who are on the move all the time. So people who are moving in metros, who are moving in buses, who are driving across, are the people who will be able to see this. So the idea is to put up hoardings or pole ads or even electronic displays, sometimes wall paintings, banners, posters, etc. And all of them, there are also certain kind of transit advertising. As the name suggests, transit means they will be used on local buses and trains. When you travel in a metro, you would see that inside the metro, there are certain advertising panels and there are various ads that are placed. At times, the entire metro, when it arrives on the platform, you see it covered in a certain color of, and what is that color? It is an advertisement. So it is covered that ways. Of course, it incurs a lot of cost. It is an expensive thing to do, but those are the various forms of outdoor advertising. And now, as compared to other as compared to other media, this is more cost effective and it can be easily used in crowded places. And it is very flexible in terms of placing the advertisements because it can always be removed. Say, for example, I have given certain amount of money, X amount of money to the Delhi Metro to advertise inside the metros. Now, this is valid for a month or whatever is the designated period of time, after which this will change. And I am free, as in the metro is free to give it space to any other brand. So that is about outdoor advertising. The beauty of it is whether the audience's desire or not, these advertisements will catch attention of the audience. The lopside is, since this is meant for people on the move, it must say less. And visually, they should, speak to the audience. Very few words and in bigger font sizes should be written so that even on the move, people are able to read what's written. Only then they will get the meaning of the message. Otherwise, it goes a waste. So that's about outdoor advertising. And then we also have some other different kind of media, how you reach the people. So say, for example, if you have to reach people in a society, right? Or say, for example, IGNOU campus. There is the residential complex. How do you reach people there? Probably through pamphlets in the newspapers, or you leave certain messages at various places which are the most frequented places. So say, for example, the shopping center of the campus or the health center, places like this. So there are these kind of various other media which also help in advertising for a product or service. Now, this can also be in form of direct mails. It could be in the form of telemarketing, or it could be, there is also in-film advertising. The window displays are there, and there are catalogs and brochures and all. So a new shop opening up, a new bakery opening somewhere outside the campus, and they would, insert those. There will be inserts in the morning newspaper. So this is how people get to know. So these are various other media, and you can always get more and more innovative with how to reach the correct target audience. What is the best way of reaching them? So this can also be, so say, for example, when we'll talk about event management, it could also be that you are a new eye hospital, and in the localities, what you do is in the societies, you go and arrange a free eye checkup camp. So that's also a way of making people familiar that, okay, we are here, we're around the corner, and in case you have a problem with the eye, there is this eye hospital available. So it not only helps you get in touch with people one-on-one, it also helps you to build some kind of credibility and stay awake in the minds of the people. So that is one. Then, of course, there are various kinds of window displays we would have all seen whenever you go shopping to malls and all. There are certain window displays which are there. So that's one good way of attracting the customer. What the customer sees on the displayed on the window is what he will go inside for. So that's called point of purchase advertising. So these products also catch the consumer's attention and they create a demand accordingly. You would also see sales being announced on the windows. So okay, this is a costly brand, but okay, it is announcing a 50% end of season sale. You go in and then you're able to make a decision. So that's about the various media of advertising and, how innovative you could get with various kinds of media. Besides that, there are certain kinds of advertising techniques, like the above the line advertising and below the line advertising. Now, these techniques basically talk about whether it is a conventional way of reaching to the audience or a not so conventional way, whether it is an unconventional way. So above the line advertising would involve TV, radio ads, and newspapers and magazines and outdoors, all those media that we discussed. But below the line advertising will basically make use of public relations or direct mails or sales promotion or this camp, the eye camp I was talking about, personal selling. Those kind of things will be made use of more, word of mouth advertising. So this is the below the line advertising. And then there are certain integrated marketing communication activities, which would take place, and this is called through the line advertising, above, below, and through. Right now, when I talk about through the line advertising, these are various marketing activities. It is basically a bunch of activities. So this bunch of activities is meant to, say, for example, create awareness. Now these guys from the eye hospital, they come and hold a camp inside the campus. It is to create awareness, free eye camp. Right. And then when you reach there, suppose somebody has an eye problem or needs new lens or something like that, you reach there, you see, okay, 20% off for people from this campus. All right. So that's another way. So how you make a cluster of various activities, marketing activities, through which you are able to ensure that you gain some clientele. So those are the advertising techniques. Now, like earlier in the discussion, I was talking about different types of advertising appeals. Now, there are various kinds of advertising appeals, like there is fear appeal, humor appeal. There can also be emotional appeal, masculinity or femininity as an appeal can be used, or adventure appeal. All these kinds of appeals are what? An appeal is the way you attract attention and the way whatever emotion or otherwise logic or emotion is making the base of your communication. So these are various kinds of appeals based on that. Sometimes you like certain ads or you remember certain ads because they had very good humor in it. So humor is also an appeal. Fear is also an appeal. What if you die? You do not have an insurance. That's fear appeal. Right. So accordingly, there are various kinds of appeals, and these are made use of whenever you're designing an ad or so. When you go over to the course of advertisement in master's level, then this paper on advertisements will make you design certain campaigns, advertising campaigns or PR campaigns, in which you will be making use of these appeals. So here only in a brief manner, we've given what are the various kinds of appeals that you make use of. So testimonial appeal is also one. And this testimonial appeal is what? Okay, I have made use of this product and I really found it good. You must go for it in case you are suffering from 1, 2, 3, in case you need 1, 2, 3. So that is a testimonial appeal. Now, there are certain models, the way we discussed the communication models and mass communication models. Similarly, there are various kinds of models that are also made use of in advertising communications. After the industrialization began, and once the world discovered that we need to manufacture goods, manufacture on a large scale, and then see to it that they get dumped at some place and they get used somehow, it was only later that advertising communications started becoming important, because people realized that this is the way we can get across to the target audience. So while this was being worked on, there were always better ways that were being explored of how we can get to the consumers or how we can get to the potential customers and convert them into real customers. So one of these models is information processing model. This information processing model basically talks of 5 steps. It talks about exposure. So your brand's information is what a customer gets exposed to. This is exposure. Attention, depending upon how interesting your communication is or how much attention they can attract. That is what is going to catch a person's attention. And of course, we must remember that this attention is for a very, very limited period of time. Like, okay, only a few months back, we were doing this little research on data analytics. And we were trying to see, because in India, across the country, IGNOU was one university which really worked hard during the pandemic times in producing programs online. And the information from the ministry was that we were the highest producing online producing organization, highest online producing university in the country. So with that, we also started experimenting. We were making videos of half an hour each. So we started experimenting of how much are the viewers actually viewing it? How much are the students really going through it? And what we realized is the best of students wouldn't stay on for more than 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So that came as an eye-opener for us. right? And here I'm talking education in which a student is invested either in terms of fees or in terms of the fact that yes, after doing this degree or doing this program, one is going to open another some more scopes in their jobs or in their lives. Even then, if in half an hour video is not watched and the attention span is only for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, one can imagine what happens with an advertisement. So the basic attention span is only a few seconds. So look at the challenge that an advertiser faces. You have to design an advertisement which is able to attract the attention and also stay in the minds of the people, so that when they actually go to make a purchase decision, they remember this ad, they remember the information, and they choose this brand. So how important it is and how challenging it is. Then, of course, this model, information processing model that we are discussing, the first two steps that we discussed was exposure and attention. The third thing was comprehension. Comprehension is understanding. Okay, like, okay, let us look at it this way. We talk about product placement. So, say, for example, an SUV is an upper middle class product. Okay, whichever brand it is. And a small car is more of a middle class or a lower middle class kind of a product. So when we say comprehension, which is the company that I would probably understand more, or which company values I will be able to comprehend more? That is more important. So what is it that I as a customer am relating to? Okay, whether the fact that it is a foreign made car, or the fact that I'm more of a nationalist person, so I prefer products made within the country. Or for that matter, I know that, okay, because the manufacturing unit is here, if something goes wrong, I always know who to take hold of. So comprehension, how you're comprehending a brand, how you're looking at it is very important. So comprehension is the third thing. The fourth thing is acceptance. Whether a particular brand will be accepted for another or rejected for another. What is the level of acceptance that this product enjoys with the customer? And then the fifth thing is retention. A person, any human being for that matter, is expected to retain only those things which are consistent with their experiences, with their beliefs, with what they think, with their values, value system, right? So what is it that will help a consumer retain facts about a brand? That is the fifth stage of this information processing model. So various stimuli are also there which generate interest. Once the interest is generated, obviously people will pay attention to it, and then they will imbibe those things, and then they will process those things in their minds and either reject or accept depending upon how they feel about it. So that's the first thing. The second model is IDA model or Dagmar model. These are two different models, and the idea is that the consumer response to advertising and marketing activities is looked at through these two models. So like IDA model has 4 stages, AIDA. A stands for attention, I stands for interest, D stands for desire, and A stands for action. So as you can very well make out, attention means whether a certain information which is mentioned in the advertisement is able to capture an audience's attention or not. And once attention is captured, whether a person feels interested in it or not, that is I, interest. And then the desire of how do they feel in case they go for it, in case they buy this product or service, how is it going to benefit them? So say, for example, why is mustard oil better or groundnut oil better than the usual fortified refined oils? So what is the desire? The desire is to stay healthy with the oil that is being used in cooking. Okay. And then, of course, action. So do you decide that though I don't enjoy the smell of coconut oil, but since it is quite healthy, I'd prefer to change the oil that's being used in the family for a long period of time, and I would rather change it with coconut oil? Action. So this is IDA. Attention, interest, desire, and action. Now, similarly, you also have Dagmar model. So defining advertising goals. for measured advertising results. This is what Dagmar means in short. Okay, so consumers will make their purchase decision depending on how aware they are. If somebody goes to buy a health drink and they do not know that Pediasure is also a health drink, probably they will not consider it. So awareness is important. Comprehension is important. What kind of benefit will Pediasure bring me? It will keep my bones healthy and strong over a long period of time as compared to Horlicks or Bonvita or Complan or something else, right? And then conviction. What is the kind of conviction that, because you are not face to face with me, it's just your advertisement, it's just your communication. So what kind of, how are you convincing me that the decision I'm making of purchasing your product is the right decision or not? So it is about conviction, like it happens with political parties. People are so steadfast with the political party they want to vote for, they would rarely change from one party to the other. And then it is action. The focus is on buying, so ads emphasize more on the benefits of that purchase decision which the customer is going to make. Now, having spoken, we first started with looking at what is advertising and what are the objectives of advertising. We also discussed the advertising techniques and appeals. Then now we were discussing the various models. Models means this is how when you making an ad, you can compare and contrast it with, say, for example, Dagmar model or IDA model to see whether this ad that you have designed is meeting these needs or not. And then the next thing that we would discuss is the push and pull strategy. Okay. So push and pull is, in the push strategy, the producer loads the wholesalers and the retailers. This can happen in the form of trade shows or through direct selling or by giving them more subsidies or point of purchase displays, etc. And customers may not, experience the push strategy as it is directed more towards distributors. But now how is this happening? There is one manufacturer or producer. He is selling the goods to wholesaler. Wholesaler is selling to retailer and retailer is selling to customer. Right now, the consumers are not experiencing this push strategy. Why? Because what has been done is the retailer will get a greater margin. So what the retailer is saying is, you're asking for a brand X, but he says, look, yeah, X is fine, but you can also try this Y, and it is coming for certain lesser price than X. The quality is very good, and the feedback coming from the consumers is really nice. So you would feel tempted to try it once because you've been coming to this retailer for a long time. So this is something that the customers will not experience, that this is a result of some push strategy. On the other hand, the pull strategy is aimed at the end customer only. Through various promotional strategies, it could be advertising, like we were just talking about the various media that advertising can make use of, and word of mouth, etc. Now the product is pulled through the channel by customer demand. How is that? The producer as well as the customer. There is always a chain which will help this promotional strategy to reach from the producer, or because the producer is going to hire the advertiser. It is comparatively more interactive, and it is working best in impulse buying product strategies. Impulse buying could be a certain brand of toothbrush you prefer, but you go buy another one because somebody said, okay, no, this is a better one. So this is the push and pull strategy. Now, having discussed this, it's also important to understand what brands are. I do believe that at this level, we don't need to really go through what is a brand or whatever. And then there are slogans, jingles, trademarks. Those are the things which help in making a brand. So there is a certain slogan or a certain logo that you would identify a brand with. Also, mascot. So these are the various things that help in acknowledging that this X brand is this, right? So say, for example, Nike. We all know the logo of Nike, yeah? Or just do it, the punchline. So how do the slogans, how do the jingles, how do the logos actually add to brand recall and brand value is important to understand and read about. Then, of course, there is something called USP. USP is the unique selling proposition. Right? So unique selling proposition is what a product carves out for itself. What does it think is being done, so that you know that, okay, if you want a certain salt, it has to be Tata salt. Why? Because I trust the Tata salt is the best salt, and there is no infiltration. There is nothing going wrong with my health if I consume Tata salt. So that is the USP. You makes agree in the market. When we talk about the advertising management, we talk more in terms of advertising objectives, and then knowing how much money you can spend on meeting these objectives. The third thing is creating those ads, those amazing messages which will go to the customers, and they will not boomerang. They will create the necessary output. And then selecting the correct vehicles. If you are targeting say, for example, people living in villages who do not have internet access, and at the same time releasing your ads on social media, obviously your objectives will not be met. Why? Because your ads are never going to be seen. And also the strategy that you make. Strategy could mean like these days, as the awareness amongst children related to media and various products is growing, we know that the purchase decision of which car should be bought in a family does not rest only with the bread earner, the father or the head of the family. It is more of children, what children like, what are the latest features, right? So who is the right person who you must approach, or how do you approach the whole family, since car is more of related to the esteem or the level or the lifestyle of a family. It talks so much, it says so much. It is a statement about the person who drives it. So it is not just the person who's going to pay for the car, it is also the family. So how are you going to strategize your branding communication towards the target audience? That too is important. And then, of course, the last bit of it is about evaluating. You've released certain ads, you're looking at the data of the sales, whether the sales volume is going up, whether the sales figures are going up. And by the end of this entire communication effort that you've made, you recalculate to see whether we fell short of something, whether the strategy didn't work out, whether this figure that we have could do better than this, etc. So this is all about assessment, and this is the assessment of effectiveness of advertising. So with that, this is a very interesting thing in case you are into advertising and creative formulation of messages and all. With that, we end with the advertising bit and we come to the public relations. Public relations, an important part of public relations is corporate communication. Corporate communication, we all have communication departments in the organizations that we work for. Now, the basic idea of communications can be, multifold. It could be to create awareness. It could be to keep people motivated. It could be to, build in greater brand loyalty and to stay loyal so that people stay loyal to the organization that they're working for, to build more faith. All of them are various ways how public relations benefits an organization. So corporate communication is also a part of public relation. So what we are trying to do basically is that we're trying to build some mutually beneficial relationships between the organizations and the various publics that are there, right? And this is, again, just like advertising, this is a very strategic type of communication. Now, while you're building relationships, why is it important? Because like I said in my lecture previously, that advertising is rooftop shouting, but public relations is not rooftop shouting. It is about how you build relationships with people, which means you have to cultivate various publics for which you require them to believe you, to trust you. So trust factor, goodwill building is very important in public relations. Also, having said that, it is also a kind of management function. Why? Because it informs and it advises the top management to take certain kind of decisions so as to build better goodwill, with its employees, with the people. So say, for example, during the Corona times, the public relations department of an organization advises the top management to cut back the salary, maybe by 20%, 30% or whatever, but not take away jobs. It will help the company stand in good light that they are helping the national economy, they are helping the people who they have employed, and at the same time the people, the employees, will build more trust in the company that they're working for, right? So this is a kind of advice that a public relation department or the head of public relations personnel will give. So as a management function, these people are able to anticipate, review, calculate, and expect what sort of opinions and attitudes and issues can come due to a certain situation. Like I was talking about the pandemic. So say, for example, the pandemic situation. Or say, for example, this is a building company, and 5 people, because they were not using safety nets, because they were not giving safety gears to wear. So there were 5 laborers who were working on, say, 5th floor or 10th floor, and they fell down to their death. So here you have a crisis. And then how do you deal with crisis? This again is a part of the public relations department, job of the public relations department. Besides this, discussion, counseling, those kind of things are important. Research is very important. Researching as to what kind of brand communication have we made? How do people perceive us? What can we do better to make this perception better? So all those kind of things come into research, and then planning and implementation of various programs, and then evaluating them. How much money have we spent on this, and have we got the expected result out of this? So all this is a part of public relations as a management function. It is also highly related to journalism, because whenever there is a new event taking place, something new is happening, they need to inform the press. They need to inform the media with not just stories, but news items or photographs, as well as videos. And usually what they do is, say, for example, it is the annual general conference. They would invite all the media, pertinent, necessary national media, and they would also prepare press kits. They would also prepare press releases. Press kits are when you give certain kind of stationery which would help the journalists or reporters get more information about the company and write accordingly. The press release will contain the most important aspect why you called the media there. There has to be some reason, and the reason is that you're going to hold an annual general conference. So annual general conference will be about also telling the report. It will be giving out the report card of the company on an annual basis. So that is something which is of interest. Why? Because there are so many shareholders, because there are various other kinds of publics, media, society, government, customers, and so many different shareholders. Then, all these people are various kinds of publics. So in order to cater to them and to their information needs, such events are organized. Then when you run through the study material, you will also find some subtopics like what are the duties and responsibilities of public relations officers and all. So that is something you can read on your own and it will be clear. Besides that, you need to know about what are the various tools of public relations. Like internet and new media is an important tool because you're able to disseminate messages to a large masses of audiences and without any time delay. News release is also what is called press release, which I just told you about. There is also media kit, which again I spoke about. Then blog can be a way various people, so say for example, somebody working as a software engineer, they would read certain technical stuff, and there are technical bloggers who would write about technical stuff only. So those blogs are also important pieces of information. And we all know the concept of influencers, the way it has come up in the social media, how because somebody says something, there are a number of people who are the followers and would like to take that advice from them. So there are also professional influencers who would advise you on your health, on fashion, on technology, on any aspect that you think is pertinent. So blogging is one way, professional blogging. And then there are various kinds of media that need to be cultivated in order to smoothen out your media relations. Also, there is publicity and media tours which are involved. Publicity because we do release ads, we do release information on a certain company to tell the people what we're doing, how well we're doing, and also to stay on the recall, top of mind recall of people. And then there are media tours. Whenever you've come up with something new, a new venture, a new industry, or a new building that you have you have made, you would like people to go look at it. Say, for example, an organic foods company has been launched, so you would like to take the media for a tour to show them how exactly you preserve the food, and how do you make the entire process organic without inducing any chemical fertilizers, or without inducing any pesticides, insecticides into it. All that. And then there are, of course, special events which are organized with special purposes in mind. So say, for example, a job fair or a trade fair. A trade fair would usually involve people coming from the same business, and they are putting up their stalls, telling the media and the media or the buyers or general public about what they do, how this product or service can help them, or whether it is business to business or business to customer, everything. And of course, there are exhibitions also. So all these are tools for a public relations department. Now, okay, one more topic that is discussed in this unit is about government public relations. This is nothing but just to say that public relations is not something which is, say, for example, a hospital is something that everybody needs. So a hospital will not need public relations. Or government, because they are ruling or because they are running the country and the various social and economic systems and political systems in it, they do not require public relations. No. Public relation is something which is required by an individual just as much as any government or non-government body, an organization, or anything. An NGO will also require public relation, despite the fact that NGOs work for non-profit causes and they work for social causes, they work for social upliftment, still they require goodwill. And goodwill comes through public relations. So, okay, and like I was talking about the corporate communications, which is again a part of public relations. Public relations, you can consider it to be the bigger umbrella under which corporate communication falls. So the idea of corporate communication department is to ensure that they create a brand identity. Why? Because they're communicating about a corporate communications. Okay. And then they also try to promote the brand and the company, or to devise communication strategies when they have to announce an event or run a show or, do some such thing. And then putting that strategy into action. All these are the jobs of corporate communication department. And like I had discussed earlier, they also have a management function whereby they advise, they plan, they organize, and then evaluate whatever efforts have been made, communication efforts in terms of events, in terms of anything that they're doing. And then corporate communication also lends a hand to marketing communications. The last bit of this will be about marketing communications, as well as the institutional communication, whereby you look at the relationship that exists between the management and the employees. You strengthen the institute, and this is basically institutional communication. Okay. While they're working on corporate branding, they're also working on corporate identity and corporate responsibility and reputation. They're also looking into crisis communication. Corporate responsibility, okay, this is something, corporate social responsibility became important by law for all the companies that are working in India since 2015. The idea was that if you, make a certain amount of profit, you're going to ensure that certain percentage, 2% of the entire profit that you make annually, you're going to give back to the society. So you're going to ensure that this money goes into other creative activities, say for example, and some areas of these activities was identified. Say for example, girl child education, towards health, towards constructing hospitals or stuff like that. So there were various areas that were identified by the government in which these companies would use that 2% of the profit. So this was corporate social responsibility. And besides that, what else is there? Okay, then there are also certain tools and methods of these that have been described. And that brings us to the end of public relations. Now we are left with two more units, one of which deals with event management as an, which helps you understand what is the process of event management, the role of event managers basically, and what are the various principles. Then how does the budgeting and elements, budgeting process takes place and what are the various elements involved. Then how do you plan and execute events? When you read this, read it more like a manual for a to-do activity, because then you will also be required to design event planning, do some event planning, strategic communication, market planning, so as to which will become a part of your portfolios. So, and these events could be of various types. It could be charitable events. It could be festive celebrations. So you celebrate, right from New Year to Diwali to Christmas and all. And then there would be private events like weddings. So like these days, as far as photography goes, in India, the maximum career advantage for a photographer would be if one chooses wedding photography as one's profession, or birthday photography, and so on and so forth. So these days people invite photographers and they get paid handsomely for such kind of careers, anniversary, birthday, etc. And then there are various kinds of sports events. We all know about Olympics, IPL, Commonwealth Games, Asian Games, so on and so forth. Then there are various government, civic, and political events. Government events or political events would mean speeches by political parties or party meetings and rallies. And then there are religious events also. There are entertainment and leisure events also, like somewhere, say for example, there's a musical show, or somewhere there are plays which are going to happen, or there are fashion shows happening, award functions happening, all of them. Then we also have academic events like conferences and seminars and workshops, etc. Okay. Then, of course, there are corporate or business events, which are also of, same nature. There can be other types of events as well, but these are the broad categories of events that we talk about. And of course, with the coming in of social media and live meetings, especially post-pandemic, the concept of having webinars and live meetings have made things more beneficial in terms of less expenditure, and also you're able to get in the best minds which would otherwise not be at your perusal. So, and social media, of course, and then we also have smartphones, and these smartphones are designed to take care of, most of the communication problems that take place. So webinars are possible. Everything is possible through smartphones. So you have text, audio, and video exchanges on smartphones. And then there are also websites and online registration apps. These just make life smoother for an event manager or for any event that you would attend. It could be online event or offline event, but these things just make things easier. So just like advertising and just like public relations, even an event planner will have to understand what strategic planning means, how to have an effective plan. And through plans, they define their goals and they identify the means and methods of achieving these goals. So that is very important which is what we call strategic planning in event management. Now, when we look at what are the various things we must look at when you're planning an event, it would be the feasibility of the event. So say, for example, you are planning a large scale event which is coming in the middle of elections. So obviously you have to see whether the event is feasible enough to be pushed, or the situation analysis. And what kind of situation, SWOT analysis you would all have heard of, an analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. And then you brainstorm to ensure that those challenges don't come in your way. And then identifying what are your sponsoring opportunities. If it is something which the government would also like to, take a share of, then you offer them a certain kind of plan whereby they can also sponsor the event, or they can look after the space where the event is going to happen. And through this, it can, while for the customers or while for the general public, it becomes easier to identify with this event, and it also makes it more credible since it has a government body's name on it. For the government, it is easy credibility, and for you as a private company, it is there are greater chances of success. And then finding out the venue, the other logistics, looking at your team and assigning roles to them, evaluating whatever your budgets are and whether it can be increased or decreased, or how much would be required to get onto the event bandwagon. And then marketing of the event is important. The way it is getting covered by media is important. And the post event, once the event is over, how you evaluate the entire effort that you made and where were the loopholes that can be plugged the next time needs to be seen. Okay. So this unit basically talks about staging events. What are the various things that go into staging an event? How do you plan? Like, you identify whether it is a formal or an informal event, how to get it catered for, and what kind of people to involve in it or to invite for it. And similarly goes the logistics management, which also involves taking care of the public. There can be crowds of public, and how do you manage that is important. And another aspect of this event management is human resource management. A task can be done, and there can be a good strategy to it. But who are the people who are touch basing with the general public? It is the human resources that you have. So how are you going to ensure that whether you're involving the right person for the right kind of thing, identifying skilled people, or how do you assign tasks to them? And then doing a job analysis, giving them a job description, or motivating them so that they can increase their productivity and training and everything. So this too is a part of human resource management, which is highly desired for events. And then there comes budgeting. So when you're doing your budgeting, you take into account every little expenditure that you could incur as a part of creating that event. And then you start working on how do you reduce costs. Okay, so income, say for example, income could be through sponsorships. Like I was just saying, that there's an event which you want to the government to collaborate on. And so that is a kind of sponsorship that you're seeking. But the expenditure could be the cost of having a gala dinner at the end of the event. And then income could also be through sales of tickets, or any other items like food and beverages and all. But on the other hand, expenditure could be the salaries or the wages that you have to pay to people. Income could be as registration fees and donations. It can be in the form of grants. As compared to this, the expenditure could be the office administration, the rent that you're paying, the stationery that you're using, the telephones, etc. The rents that you're getting from other stalls, if you have your own space, is a kind of income. But at the same time, the equipment that you have to borrow, the sound and light system that you need, all of it is expenditure. So this is different from event to event. Depends on the scale of the event, depends on how you're planning, where you're planning, and for how big an audience you're planning something. So these are the various ways of understanding how to construct a budget. You have some heads for income. You also have some heads for expenditure. Then even your publicity and other such work, the artwork, the print and radio ads that we were talking about, all of it is a part of expenditure. But then after that, what is the kind of sales you have raised is again your income. So there are certain ways of how you can reduce costs, like when you're planning an event, at that time, how effectively you can manage the cost without compromising on the quality of the output is what helps you reduce the costs. So event managers are trained at that. Also, a lot of this does not really come with a, with a secure price. It is always very negotiable. So a good event manager should also have great negotiation skills. Okay, and then you can strategize the budget by looking at what is more important. Though there will be a plethora of things which will be important to achieve and retain, nevertheless, looking at the aspects of budgets and reducing the costs, trying to include more volunteers rather than people who you will have to pay. Those are the ways how you can look at reducing costs. And then um, you would have often heard of this term called return on investment. Like, if I just exemplify, the number of hours you're putting in this program, and do you come out as a person who's rich in experience when it comes to media and communications at the end of this program? So that is your return on investment. What is it that you're gaining by giving in time, by listening to the lectures, by doing your assignments, by appearing in exams, by preparing for your exams? What is it that you're reaping? The benefit is the return on investment. So after this, we need to, once we are through with what are the objectives and what is the income and expenditure that we're going to incur, the budgeting is done, then you need some market planning for events. Now, market planning would depend on the communication objectives that you're going to achieve. Communication objectives of event marketing could be to make people aware that we exist as a brand, or to tell them that we are a better quality product because we are tested from certain labs. So we are a better quality product. So this can be a communication objective. This is what you want to communicate. Alternatively, you can also say, okay, we are the ones who are for below poverty line people. We can do what other private hospitals, the kind of tests they do for certain kind of money, we do it only 20% of it. So this is also a communication objective. Depending upon your communication objective, you create different events and then you market it accordingly. Then event management also, it helps you in the way of being a marketing tool. Like I was discussing when I was talking about advertising, above the line, below the line, through the line. So similarly, event management is more of a below the line marketing strategy. Why? Because you can spend quality time with your target group. There is a better chance of face-to-face interaction. And of course, it is cheaper than mainstream media. We know that if we want to give an ad for, a 20-second or a 30-second ad on TV, how expensive it can be. In the same kind of expense, when it comes to making an event, you can do a lot with that bit of money. So it is also very effective as a niche marketing segment. And like I said, that researches are important because you need to know how well you performed and whether some loopholes can be plugged, or whether something could be made better, or you missed on certain opportunities. All of it is important. So marketing research for this event and the evaluation research, both the things are more important. And these can also be, qualitative as well as quantitative, whether it is subjected to a verification of data or whether it is looking at the patterns and themes and how well it was executed. So that is the end of event management. And then we have just a minute. Yes. So then we have integrated marketing communications. Now, integrated marketing, like earlier I was talking about advertising and public relations and event management, all of them, along with many other tools of marketing, together is called integrated marketing communications. Integrated, the word as it suggests, you're integrating all sorts of marketing communication tools, be it events, be it PR, be it advertising, be it anything else. So these tools could also be, getting sponsorships. They could also be sales promotion. It could be gamification. Gamification is also coming up to be a very lively way of advertising. And then there are direct mails and all. And then there is merchandising and point of sale. Then there is packaging. All of it together comes under integrated marketing communications. So, there is a certain one thing that we need to first learn is what marketing is. Marketing is basically a customer focused activity, and it involves that we study various management relationships, management techniques, and then use it for communication, which is sharing of experiences. So, marketing mix is when the strategy formulated by an organization, which is based on the basis of the product or the price or place, promotion, etc. Together, when it is when it is offered to the customers, it is called marketing mix. So there can be basic factors like people, process, and physical evidence, which is involved in marketing mix. People, as in who are these people who you're targeting. Process would mean how you're, targeting or how you're going to ensure that the customer makes the correct purchase decision, which is purchasing your brand. So have you started on with a sale, or are you offering some discount, or are you, what is it that you're offering so that you can entice them into buying your product? And after this, we look at what is communication mix. Now, this is marketing mix, which means the mix of various activities which is targeted towards marketing. And when we talk about communication mix, now this is a combination of tools of communication. Why? Because you are keeping in mind the strategy through which you are going to achieve your objectives. This includes both online and offline tools. It could be advertising, PR, whatever. So, integrated marketing communication, it involves the best use of these resources, which we make use of for marketing mix as well as communication mix by incurring minimum cost. If you're able to do that, we should understand that you are, you're having a perfect IMC strategy. Now, the strategic analysis and the choice and the implementation and control of these elements in marketing communications, looking into the efficiency and effectiveness in terms of economics is what is going to ensure whether the IMC plan is the integrated marketing communications IMC plan is good or not. Okay. Now, another thing is, why should we integrate? We can look at it differently. We can look at it as only advertising or only events or only public relations. Why should we be integrating it? Now, the only reason why we want to integrate is because we want to save our resources and because we want to maintain some consistency of communication. Because any communication which is not consistent will not find enough people believing it. So as communication tools are of various kinds, they can be online also, they can be offline also, and there are various ways of reaching a target audience with your product or the service. So too much of communication will result into information overload and people will not pay attention. And too less information will mean that people are not informed. So what is adequate? You need to understand what it is to have, the correct mix of communication, the correct mix of marketing, so that the customer needs are monitored also and met also. So what all do we integrate? That is the next pertinent question. What we integrate is the integration of vertical objectives, which means the communication and marketing objectives should fit in with the overall goals of an organization. If an organization is, say for example, it is a steel plant. So what is it which is required to be communicated through the communication mix and through the marketing objectives? That is important to understand. The second thing is the horizontal integration. Why? Because the marketing communication activities should fit in with other branches. Suppose you're going to target the client market for the new car that you're proposing, and there are not enough number of car units which have made those many cars. Suppose the demand rises, what are you going to supply? So at least an adequate number of car manufacturing should be done before you start talking about it in active market. So that is horizontal integration. So when you're aligning your activities with horizontally with other departments like manufacturing, like operations and human resources, etc. Then the third thing is integration of marketing mix, which I already spoke about. Integration of communication mix. When we say marketing mix, we are mixing up the marketing activities. Why? Because the same objective can be obtained in a better manner or in a cost efficient manner by mixing these marketing tools. Similarly, for communication mix, we mix up the communication tools. Why? Because a message can be conveyed in a better manner or in a cost effective manner. Then integration of a creative design is important. Why? Because we are going to position a product. Like I said, while I was discussing this unit on public relations and advertising, I was talking about a car, an SUV, which is more a choice of an upper middle class family in India, as compared to a notchback, as compared to a hatchback. A hatchback could be, a notchback could be more of a middle segment car, and a hatchback could again be upper middle. So there we need to understand how is the creative design positioning your product or service. Then of course there is external and internal integration, which would talk about interdepartmental cohesion. It would talk about how they can work consistently with the external agencies employed in the organization. And then of course the financial integration, which is also the most important, because you're going to ensure optimal use of resources and efficient and effective use of resources so as to meet your goals. So amongst the tools of the integrated marketing communication comes advertising, public relations, sponsorships. Sponsorships are when you all know what sponsorships mean. What we basically do is, when we're going to, say for example, organize an event, we would like to know who are the people who would like to be seen at this event. What are the kind of businesses who can make benefit, who can take some benefit of our event. So those are the people who you approach to sponsor your event. So this is basically sponsorship. And then there is sales promotion and gamification. There is also content marketing. When we talk about that, some of the tools, some of the techniques that sales promotion makes use of is, of course, communication. That is how they tell people what they're talking about. Then there is also incentivizing. So if you go with this coupon, you can get additional 10% discount on the product that you're purchasing. Or there are more of invitations, like memberships with a promise of incentives in near future. So which is more in terms of garnering, the loyalty of the customers. So say, for example, there is a chain of hotels and you have taken their membership. What does it mean? As compared to another person who would hire this hotel on a certain cost, whenever you visit with your family, you would get a flat 25% discount, even in the, or say 50% discount in off-season days and 20% discount or 25% discount in the touring season. So that is what we mean by incentivizing. And then various tools and techniques are used by sales promotion teams also. Like they will use mailers, they can use point of purchase displays, or they can make demos. Like whenever we go to the trade fair and all, you would see small businesses displaying their products or telling you how you can make best use of things. They will give you a demo. So that is one way. And then offers and discounts are there, coupons and gifts are there. All these things together lead to sales promotion and gamification and all. Now, when I say gamification, whenever it simply means, what is gamification? You integrate some game mechanics into a sales process. So every time you're able to win a game, at the end you find this product. You find the brand name of this product, which you get as incentive or which you get as prize. It could be something as simple as collecting wrappers of a chewing gum to exchange later for another pack or getting some reward points in return. So this is not only a a kind of reward to loyal customers, it also motivates them to return for purchase again and again whenever they want, whenever the need arises. And speaking of content marketing is a process of generating content in order to sell the products. So we know there is a lot of these days there is a lot of scope in jobs like content writing and all. Why? Because whenever we have to market a product, the first way how we can make an impact on the minds of the customers is through selling our content, which is based on that product. So now it can be a travel blog, which we would read to decide where we're going for a holiday, or on a travel agent site, or on an influencer's site for that matter. Or we look at the photos uploaded by people. They could be there may not be people who are known to us, but they could be stylists on a clothing e-commerce app. So with the help of digital media, creation of content has become very easy. While it has become easy, people are also reaching out to these to the digital media forums so that they can understand what they are going in for. So content marketing has become very important, especially taking into account social platforms like Instagram and Facebook, and with the new age influencers. So having said that, events, exhibitions, and conferences are also organized looking at the purpose of event, for whom this event is being organized, what is the plan of action, when and where is that event. Okay, this is also a good part of, in fact, integrated marketing communications. Then we also have merchandising and point of sale. When, say, for example, you go to your college for an alumni association meeting or something like that, you will see merchandising stuff kept there in form of t-shirts or mugs or pens and so on and so forth. And it is gifted out to people. So point of sale is also available, as well as free of cost merchandising is also available whenever you register. So product merchandising, retail merchandising, visual merchandising, and digital merchandising, all of it are part of this. So point of sale is the merchandising material which is enabling the customer in making the buying decision promptly. Why? Because it is available right there in front of you, and you can take a decision whether to or not to. Ranging from, this can range from various sorts of shelf decorations to streamers, banners, etc. And when we talk about product merchandising, this could be the, shelf displays of products. Retail merchandising this is done specially with the retailers. And it could include displays or demonstrations and streamers, banners, etc. that are available with the retailers. Then we also have visual merchandising. Visual merchandising could be, you light up places when you go to the malls and all, you see windows lit up in a certain way. So, so that's to focus more on the product and how it will appeal, right? So there are elements of spacing, there are elements of lighting and designing to heighten the visual appeal of the product. So all this is there. And then, of course, we have digital merchandising. Whenever you go to buy something on Amazon or Flipkart or whichever other e-commerce site, you will also see a small video of how it is being used, or how it looks. So there will be a few visuals and then a small video. That is all a part of digital merchandising. And digital merchandising, while I talk about the product, it also includes the interface through which you can purchase. Like when you purchase something on Amazon, you use your credit cards or debit cards or whatever, UPIs and other. So this is a part of digital merchandising also. Having spoken about digital merchandising, I think the only thing left now is packaging. Okay. We know it is the world of packaging. Even if the product is not that great, the packaging makes it look and feel great. So how you're providing a complete solution to a problem is not only through the product or service, but also how it is coming to the customer, how it appears. The packaging primarily means the process of, designing the product and wrapping the product. So these days, packaging is equally important. Why? Because, like say for example, you talk of an Apple phone, and how do you see it? It is a very simple pack. Even the phone is a very simplistic. So a package, for that matter, for any material, needs to be quite compact and lightweight, easy to carry, and simple, at the same time attractive. And of course, it should speak a lot about the brand image. So if the brand image is juxtaposed to the way a product is packaged, it might just end up confusing the customer, or even the customer not believing what the product or service tells. So that is it. Then we also speak about the benefits of integrating, these communication efforts and these marketing efforts. The first and the best thing is, when I was talking about communication mix and marketing mix, I said that it makes it more cost effective, and the objectives can be met in a better fashion. So the first thing is, it brings consistency to the communication that you're making. A consistent and clear communication does not confuse the audience. That's quite important. And clearly, a consistent range of messages brings greater credibility to communication. So when you're integrating all your communication efforts in such a way that you know exactly what is being communicated to the audience, they believe in you more, right? And then, of course, there is an optimum use of resources, which is very important, because you can't afford to waste resources. As customers also become more aware and clear with their communication, it makes it a positive purchase decision. The chances, of okay, let me put it this way: there are people who might perceive your product positively. There are others who might compare it to another, to the competitor's product, and might be on the verge of taking a decision for or against your product. And then the third is the one who believes, no, this is the only brand that I need to purchase. Okay, so your loyal customer. So you want all these people, right from those who don't know about your product to the person who's comparing and contrasting and may or may not buy your product, all this category of people you want to be converted into loyal customers. It happens best when your communication efforts are targeted, when they are integrated, such that it is not creating any sort of confusion or disbelief amongst the customers. That is the best benefit of IMC. Okay. Then it also helps in consolidating the image of an organization. Now, and of course, when all these things are happening, your profit is also increasing. That's one thing. Now, let me just look through what is the stuff that is left. All right, yes. One important last aspect which is left here is, how do you create an integrated marketing plan? Now, like there were IDA model and Dagmar model in advertising, there is this plan which is called SOSTAC, SOSTAC. And what does this SOSTAC stand for? S is situation. Okay, so when we do a SWOT analysis of the situation, that is called that is the S of the SWOT plan. And then we have objectives. What sort of objectives are to be met? Where are we going? How are we hoping of achieving these objectives? Strategy. So where are we going answers the questions to what are our objectives. Strategy, how do we get there? We know we have to meet this objective of raising the sales volume. So in order to raise the sales figure, what do we do? How do we increase the sales volume? The answer to that is your strategy. Because you're going to make use of certain marketing mix, certain communication mix, and then you're going to decide on what your target audience is, and then how you're going to take this, the desired communication to your target audience. Then we're talking of the tactics. All sorts of the strategies that you're putting to use are a part of the larger tactics which the marketing communication mix is using. So tactics, what is it entailing? It is including the decision on tools of communication. When should you use public relations? When should you organize an event? That counts in tactics. And how much should you spend on an event? Maybe you should be spending less on TV advertising as compared to locally going amongst the people and creating an event and spending on that. So what is the detail of the strategy? The detail of the strategy is tactics. And then we talk about action. What steps are required to put each tool in action? Like what kind of background work is required? Where are we going to create these activities? How much time do you be required to prepare the communication which is needed on the spot for for the event? And what are the various tools that you're using to deliver this strategy? All this is a part of the real action, okay, on ground action. And then we talk about control. It is important to control. Why? Because there is a budget involved, there is a timeline involved, there are objectives to be met, and at the end of it, we can't afford to fall flat. So it is important that we keep some checks and balances in the marketing activity, so that we call it in marketing terms, or in terms of IMC, we call it midterm corrections. Whenever an event is on, or whenever an integrated marketing communication campaign is on. So for the first few months, we were only advertising through traditional media and social media. Then we got onto out of home, OOH, right? There were banners and there were hoardings and everything, and there were pamphlets in the papers, stuff like that. So more you're reaching nearer to the audience. And then you're creating an event. Could be a musical event, could be a health mela, it could be anything. So through that, you are coming one-on-one in touch with the audiences. So you need to control every aspect of this, because there are always ways that money can be laundered, money can go waste, your resources might go waste, or the entire marketing plan can be wasted if it is not yielding the desired results. How much or how less is another matter, but whether it is yielding results or not is important. So in addition to this is called the SAW stack plan. This is how you make a marketing plan. Okay. There were also 3 other additional aspects that were that were added at a later stage to the marketing plan. This included the people, men and women. That is what makes it more sustainable. Money, which is the most important aspect, because it is going to decide on the budget. It is going to decide upon the ready cash availability to carrying out the marketing communications activity, so on. And then the third important aspect is time. Timelines have to be set. If you're not meeting the timelines, probably the entire effort is going to go waste. How? I'll give you an example. Tourism. So there is certain time, certain tourist season. If you're creating an activity right before it, probably you will reap the efforts, because people will be more interested in the places that you have talked about through your marketing plan. But if the entire marketing communications plan spills over the touring season, by the time people have already taken their vacations and visited places, then there is no point talking about it. So you are unnecessarily wasting your resources. So people, money, and time. 3 basic important things to any marketing plan. Now, yes. Now, these are another few things that I would talk to you about, like when, social media revolution and how it has affected the IMC. These are only things that I'm bringing to your notice because we all know about it. But still, because it is a part of the unit and this is the last topic here, I will mention them. Marketing automation. Now, marketing strategies have been automated. So it is already, there is a certain set time when your email will reach the target audience, when your communication would reach through various platforms. So there is tailored information being provided. And also there is more relevant and personalized information, because the more personalized it is, the more a customer will get a hang of it, or will more identify, relate to with it, right? So we should know what is the best time to talk to a person. We should know when is she best ready to receive this kind of information. That comes with marketing automation. Also, there is social customer relationship management, CRM, and the aspect of social media being added to it. So it makes it more impactful, it makes it more cost effective, and it is a simpler way of keeping in touch one-on-one and keeping the customers positively engaged. That is CRM. And then big data. We all know data is something which is more, the bigger the data, the more the information you have about the customized tastes of audiences. Huge volumes are collected and bought from various sources. And then what is this that the data scientists are doing? They are deciphering by reading digital imprints. They are looking at various channels like mobile and internet and social media and buying huge data sets of customers. How is it that they know which brand of mobiles we would prefer, which brands of clothes do we prefer, which oil brand do we eat? How do they know all these things? Because they have our data with or without us knowing about it. And because they know, they also know our customer preferences. So data and AI, artificial intelligence, and things like this has made us so predictable to the marketers that by the time you move into a store, the store guy already knows what sort of a product you're out to buy. You know, are you going to buy the most expensive product, or the lesser expensive product, or the medium level product? Already knows that and will show you exactly that. So much has data science improved, and so much has the data science gotten under our skins. So all our data, nothing is private. All our data is compromised. Everybody out there, all the marketers know exactly what we want. And that is why when they push products to us, they find more success when it comes to looking at it from the marketer's point of view. Okay. Then, of course, there is data analytics. This is just what I was talking about. When you have a large amount of data, like I was giving you an example of what we were doing. As an experiment, we were trying to look at how much are people hooked on the videos, and they are for education. How much are people accessing them, and for how long is their attention span, whether they're getting everything that we're teaching in half an hour video or not. So data analytics these days is more focused than big data. Why? Because it is sifting through huge piles of big data to get answers to specific questions. My learner is a working person, is in this age group, this gender. What is the preference? How would he or she like to learn about marketing communications? Only if I'm giving this person exactly that, the chances of succeeding is more for the student, and the chances that I will succeed through my student increases. Right. So while big data employs complex technical tools and techniques of data analysis by statistical modeling methods, they make use of statistics in a big way. Statistical modeling is there, and they also make use of smaller apps and various kinds of simpler tools. Like you would have all these days heard of Chat GPT. Now, Chat GPT is an AI tool which can give you any kind of, you just have to ask a question and it will give you a well-researched report on that. So analysis of data helps in getting valuable business insights also, and it helps you to spot patterns. What is the pattern of, say for example, there can be a research through big data which tells you that the sale of coffee is proportional to sale of diapers. Very strange. One would wonder, what has coffee got to do with diapers? Yeah. But then this is the kind of equation that big data can build for us. And while this is getting built, you're able to spot patterns, to make recommendations, and then you're able to understand the reasons for it, accordingly design your product also, and the communication which is devised for that product also. So with that, we come to the end of this course. This block ends here. These were the 4 units that would talk of integrated marketing communications. In case you have a question or you have some observation, you have an insight to share with me, you're most welcome. Any questions? Anything you would want me to repeat? Yes, Astha has raised a hand. Astha, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'll just be quick because it's a working day for me, but I've been following.
Okay.
I think most of us just wanted to know the guidelines for assignments. How do
Oh,
we go about it?
okay.
Yeah.
So like I have briefed you about the first course, which is Introduction to Journalism and Mass
Yeah.
Communication. You would find an assignment on this course uploaded, right? In
No,
the name of MJM 020, which is the course code of this course. Okay.
no,
And there
that
you would
is,
find,
yes, sorry. Yeah. Continue.
yeah, yeah. So there you would find a set of 5 or 6 questions, each of which is for 20 marks. So you please attempt those questions and then you upload it. And after uploading, it will be marked for 30% of your total marks. So say, for example, out of 100 marks, though that assignment is for 100 marks, so 5 questions for 20 marks each, but it will be scaled down to 30%. Then when you write your term and examination, that would be for 70%. Okay, that would again be a 100-mark question paper that you would attempt at the end of 6 months, but those would be scaled down to 70%. So to get your final grades, your term and exam and your assignment will be added in the ratio 70 is to 30 to give you the final marks in the course.
But in terms of writing, like we don't have really guidelines about like in-text referencing. How do we go about? Because we need to substantiate whatever we are writing, right? Or we just
Yeah.
write because, yeah,
See,
we
some
need
of the
to
questions, I'll
corroborate.
tell you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you. There can be two kind of questions that you would find. Like I could give you a question on design and integrated marketing communications campaign on any local event that is happening around you. Okay, that can be one kind of question where you do not need in-text referencing and all. The other can be like when I was talking to you after my first class and I said, write about the media policy of your particular country. So there you can make use of references, you can make use of other researches that have taken place or whatever other adequate study material, literature that you find, you can make use of it. So
Like
there will be
journals
these,
and journals
yes,
and all. This is what you mean, right?
yes,
And
yes.
compare and discuss. This,
It can be journals, it can be newspaper articles, it
yeah,
can be
yeah, yeah.
digital media, anything. Anything that is
Okay.
published and is in the public domain. And why? Why do you need them? You can even do without them. But in order to substantiate your view, it is always good to give some references.
Yeah,
If not,
this was my
not a
point
problem.
because yes, ma'am. Because the point is like, okay, we are writing, but so how do we prove it? How do we substantiate or corroborate whatever is being asked? Some questions I agree, like you said, we don't need to give references because it's our scenario local. But some
Yeah.
questions, like we will need to like link it to theories of people or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes,
So this
I
is
do.
what.
I do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so feel free to make use of any literature that is available, not necessarily journals, because maybe everybody will also not understand how research papers speak about certain findings or certain objectives. So please feel free to refer to any sort of literature that is available. It includes the articles and all that are published in media, and it includes wherever you have authentic sources, you can make use of it. But the source must be authentic. There's a lot of fake stuff going around. Just make sure that you do not make use of any fake stuff because unknowingly or knowingly, that's it.
okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome. I also see another hand raised, but since I'm signed in from my mobile, I'm not able to read the full name. Please unmute and ask your questions.
Hello, ma. Good afternoon. Actually,
Yeah, hi.
I'm trying to add to what Asta has said just recently. She's talking about the reference style. Is it whether we are going to use APA or MLA style? Sometimes in our undergraduate studies, some school use MA style of referencing,
Mhm.
while others use APA style of referencing. So maybe she's trying to ask
See,
which type of references are we going to use?
please feel free. This is only an assignment. It is not writing of a research paper. You use Chicago style, you use MLA, you use APA. You don't use any perfectly fine with me. It's just that whenever you're substantiating your your write-up, your assignment, your question, please make sure that you give authentic sources. Authenticity to me is more important. APA, MLA, and Chicago would have been important had I been asking you to write a research paper, which I'm not.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Welcome, welcome.
Yes,
Any other questions? Yes, Astha.
yes, just one quick last question. So it's okay to, I mean, the university doesn't ask for Harvard referencing or this or that. This is what we wanted to all confirm because we spoke yesterday in our group, study group. So
Yes.
yeah, just to corroborate with what we say, even if in some texts we don't even put references, that's totally okay, right?
Yes, that's totally okay. But please also distinguish between assignments and research project. When you go to the second year of this program, MA, I'm talking only to the MA students. I'm not talking about PGJMC. So for MA students, when you go to the second year, there will be a research dissertation that you might be asked to prepare. There, this referencing style, and we all use APA here, not Chicago or MLA. So just for your information, there it will be important for referencing in the correct way and, in text citations and all. Here, this is only an assignment. So we are looking at your analytical capability of presenting facts, right? So
So
sources are important. Yeah.
And what about plagiarism and all? Do we have a tool to check all that, or the university will do
Yes.
it at their end? Yeah.
The university would take care of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Shika, for the lectures. It was very insightful. I believe after reading the course materials, the one that we did today, I'll get more insight. So my question generally here is about the submission of assignments. I
Yes.
realize with the workload and all the courses that the deadline for submission of assignments would be on the 31st of March. Could there
Yeah.
be any extension to that, or is a cast on stone?
No. There is usually an extension, and we usually keep it till the end of April. But after that, it might be difficult. So you have time till April. Don't worry.
Okay. So for the exams, say for instance, there are some
Hmm.
online courses I do in my MBA. When I did my MBA, for every course that we complete, we
Yeah.
take the exams concurrently.
Mm-hmm.
For IGNO, is
Hmm.
it a general exams for all the courses at the same time, or individual exams after the completion of each course?
It is not individual. At the end of 6 months, you can appear for I think out of eight, four exams. Yes, because it is going to be an annual thing. So at the end of the year, you can give all 8 exams together. Right?
Okay,
So it is
okay,
not,
okay.
yeah. It is not at the
Oh,
completion of the course. It is at the completion of the year that you will have to appear in exams for.
okay. Then finally, when is this particular the first year scheduled to end according to our calendar?
December.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shika. I hope to see you more in our next courses because your discussions have been very insightful and helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm very happy to be a part of this program, and I hope all of you have stood benefited with whatever was able to present and let you know. Thank you all very much. Have a great evening. Good connecting here. Bye bye.
The same to you. Shukriya.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
So
I come now, go shop. I don't